You know, the problem with most people is that they're lazy, especially the younger generation, and they just don't want to work and put in a little bit of effort. Sound familiar? I couldn't disagree more. Let's get right into it. For those of you new, welcome. I'm Aaron, a 20-year corporate accountant and analyst living in Western Canada. So there's a lot of talk going around about people not being able to find employment, or once they have employment, they just don't want to put in any amount of effort. This has been passed on to us through numerous decades from our grandparents, our parents, and it's just become the mentality that people are expected to put in lots of overtime, long hours if they want to get ahead. However, things have drastically changed in the last 30 or 40 years. People that were once putting in long hours are realizing that it's just not worth it. Do you feel like at the end of the week after you go home, putting in long, hard hours, sometimes 40, 50, 60 hours, you're just dead tired? You don't have it in you to spend time with your family, pursue a side hustle, or enjoy a hobby. It's just not worth it anymore to keep putting in long, hard hours and hopefully get a small glimmer of hope that maybe in the end you might get a small raise, a bonus, maybe hold out for that promotion. It's just not there as it once was. We're seeing many companies starting to lay off people. It used to be 20, 30 years ago that after high school, you go on to college or university, you study really hard, you get A's, hopefully you get on with a great company, you're prepared to put in long, hard hours, hoping to get that raise or promotion so that one day you can buy a house, you get a car, you settle down with a family, have a white picket fence, and everything is golden, sunshine, and rainbows. And it's just not the case anymore. I've worked in large corporate offices, so I network and I run in finance circles with mid-level managers, and I talk to them, and many of them are also feeling the same way, that it's usually in the end the only top 1 or 2% that ever get any benefit out of everybody pulling for the company. Do you know what the salary is of the average CEO? I made a video on this on my other channel a few years ago, and it used to be 250 to 400 times more than the average worker. Not anymore. Things have actually changed. Now, recent reports are revealing that some CEOs are actually receiving 1,000 times more than the average worker. To put this into perspective, or to state another way, the average person would have to work 250 to 600 or 700 years to make what one CEO makes in just simply 1 year. Isn't that something? This person here represents the average worker. At some companies, it takes 1,000 average workers to equal the salary of just one CEO. Put another way, Andrew Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, makes in 1 hour more than what 3 average yearly worker salaries would be combined, based on a 40-hour work week. So I kind of think it's nonsense to expect every working person at that company to push for that company's prosperity on the same level as the CEO or any top-level executive would. It's not to be expected, and it's not fair because it's not an even compensation level. So many people are still holding on to the mentality that, okay, you put in long, hard hours, you ask for additional projects, you take on more work, and you'll get ahead, and hopefully the boss or the higher-up people will notice you. And I've been in the business 30 years, and I can tell you that just isn't the case. You won't always get rewarded or noticed, and often these efforts can be wasted. Now, I'm all for work. When I get in with a company, I'm prepared to work my 9 to 5 or whatever hours that I've been hired for. But when it comes to overtime, I'm very reluctant to give out my time. My time is valuable. So if you get hired on at a company, I'm a firm believer of working hard, putting in your time, being a team member and player, and contributing towards the goals of that company, but only to a certain extent. Too many people have worked far too long putting in overtime, and they see very little reward out of it. And often, employers won't reward you simply for putting in long hours and thinking that you're on the same level as a CEO. You're just not. Actually, what effectively gets a person ahead, besides overtime and putting in long hours, is actually having a positive attitude, being reliable, being a team player, contributing towards the company's goals, and constantly upgrading and improving and having a unique skill set. This will get you much farther ahead. For those of you new to my channel, welcome. I'm Aaron, a 20-year corporate accountant and analyst living in Western Canada. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to learn more about personal finance and investing from a 20-year corporate accountant. So the generalization that people are just lazy or they just don't want to work anymore, especially young people, I completely disagree with this. Sure, it's true probably for some people, but the vast majority of young people that I've talked to and other people, they're willing to put into the work as long as they feel like they're working towards something, that they're contributing to their financial goals and future. People are putting in long, hard hours. If you think about it, oftentimes this is contributing to, say, a CEO's salary when they go to retire. Instead of 80 million, they retire with 120 million.
Great.
Many people are unaware of this, but the middle and working class is not disappearing, but the experts want to call it being financially squeezed, that their paychecks are getting smaller relative to the expenses every year. And this has been happening for some time. I've done a lot of work on this, and there are tons of resources out there saying this exact same thing if you just know where to look. The middle class is being financially squeezed tighter and tighter, and they're pretty much just tapped out.
Experts instead prefer the term squeezed to describe what's happening to the middle class today.
Even if the middle class hasn't statistically shrunk, I do think that the middle class faces more in the way of pressures to maintain or even build upon their position.
They're not necessarily able to pay their rent easily. They can't own a property. If they're in their 30s, they may not feel comfortable having kids because they realize that having a child would be too expensive.
The increase with the cost of housing, food, gasoline, healthcare, every expense is going up. Yet relative to inflation, wages and salaries have remained relatively stagnant.
Between 1970 and 2018, the middle class share of aggregate income fell by 19% in the US. In comparison, the share of aggregate income for upper income households saw a rise of 19%.
It's not like it was 30, 40 years ago where one person could easily support, as long as they had a decent paying job, an entire family. Now, both parents working, well, that's nothing new to rave about. That's the norm. Now, well, it's usual to have a side hustle or a part-time job in addition to that. I really dread where we're going to be in 20, 30 years from now. I don't even want to picture it. So many students are coming out of these college and universities and, well, they were told, go get a degree, get a diploma, land a great paying job, and after dropping 60 to even 100K on education, they're coming out and they're having trouble getting a job in that related field, or they're realizing it doesn't pay as much as they thought, as they were told.
People who don't go to college might avoid debt, but they can end up in worse shape. 50 years ago, they could also afford a house and a couple kids, but today, that's much harder. Their wages are actually lower now.
The bottom has fallen out on non-college educated workers.
So you have to go to college in this economy. But the only way you can pay for it is loans. Is that a choice? No, it's not a real choice. It's a false choice.
In fairness, they're going to have a real challenge if they can ever pay off those student loans. Now that they've racked up all this debt and they were told, well, go to university, get a great paying job with that education. And now they don't know what to do because they can't land a job in that field. So they're having to take jobs that they're underemployed in, that aren't in their field, that don't pay as well, just to be able to pay the bills.
I'm 33, and growing up, it was drilled into our heads. You gotta go to college if you want a middle-class job. And we even tell kids today, look, if you don't go to college, you might as well get a face tattoo.
I remember I just recently went to a car lot, and I'm not saying I want a new car because I know that's the biggest expense and you're kind of a sucker if you're buying a brand new car, but just a look. And the price tags were just outrageous. Like, I couldn't believe what this one guy was asking just for a normal car. Like, it was just outrageous. And I talked to the salesman and asked, why are these cars priced so expensively? And he's just like, oh, because people will pay it. We'll just move on to the next customer. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to keep driving my old car till it drops and then maybe look into a good deal on a used car. Because even the price of cars, even used cars, is just outrageous nowadays.
Data from AutoTrader shows the average cost of a new car in Canada is more than $67,000, more than 14% higher than this time last year. And the average cost of a used car is more than $36,000, about 2% more than last January.
So unless you're going for senior partner in, say, a law firm, or you're a manager in a software development microchip company, I really can't see a lot of benefit for most people in working tons of overtime and putting in long hours. In actuality, that's not what keeps people ahead and promoted. It's other things such as visibility, communication skills, your reputation in the company. Those will get you far further ahead than, say, just working long hours on projects that maybe nobody even notices. The fact that people are saying, okay, people just have to work harder and put in long hours, I think they're overgeneralizing and trying to simplify the problem, to have it make sense in this narrow little box that they've concocted on how the world should be, or how it was 30, 40 years ago. Those same rules no longer apply. Many companies will often try to wring as much out of every employee as they can. So if they want to put in long hours or take additional work on, the company's more than happy to give it to you. I want to share this article with you guys that I came across on LinkedIn, and it really stuck a core with me when I first read it, that these employees at this company were apparently putting in long, hard hours, and they brought in a new client, which generated millions of dollars in revenue for the company. And they took on all this additional work and worked, evenings and weekends to bring in this client, and millions of dollars, like I said. And the reward at the end of all their hard work and efforts was, I don't know, I think it was 12, 15 pizzas for everybody to share. I don't think that's really the reward that they had envisioned in their heads. At least it wouldn't be what I was thinking, which should be the reward. This actually happened to me a few years ago at one of my previous companies, where I had to put in 50 to 60 hour work weeks. And we had a bunch of projects that had a tight deadline, so it had to be done. And I thought, okay, Aaron, just keep your head down, keep focused. We got the projects done, me and some of the other people on my team. And when it came reward time at the end of the year, I think we were given a coffee cup and a small party, and everybody kind of turned and like, why did we bother? We were kind of thinking, we didn't say that in front of our managers, but everybody was very surprised that we didn't receive more. And we had come in weekends, like we'd worked hard, and we noticed at the end that the returns just weren't there. And these were big projects, and I just can't get over it. Like, the return that we got for all our efforts, if I could turn the clock back, I'm not sure I would have made the same decision. So I'm sure everybody's been here when a coworker leaves and you have to pick up the slack for them. At least I've had that in previous jobs. And okay, we want to make the company shine. Let's pick up the slack. We'll fill in until they hire someone else. So you put in all this effort and you work and you start doing what they were doing. And at the end, they hire somebody on, and you wait for that big bonus or raise or some acknowledgement at the end, and you get crickets and nothing ever happens. And so the company makes you their partner when somebody leaves. Let's all pull for the company. We're a team, we're a family. Let's all pull together. And then come, peak performance time, when share price is going up and the company's reporting record profits, and everybody's going, the employees, okay, where's my portion? Well, no, we can't afford it. Or sorry, we have to do a bunch of layoffs to save expenses. We're going to let you go. So they make you partner in the bad times, but come the good times, well, you're not really their partner anymore. You're there, you're paid a salary, that's your job. So when all these companies are saying, well, we're family, and, management is boasting and talking about that, and then you never know, because behind closed doors, well, are they secretly talking and planning on how maybe AI could one day replace me, and suddenly I'm out of a job, my simple data entry job, or I used to do this or that coding. Well, now AI can do it. It's faster, cheaper, and you're going to be out of a job in 3 to 6 months. So many students, when they come out and graduate university, well, they took all these skills and they have all this education, and they're landing jobs doing simple data entry that most people out of high school could do. You don't have to go to colleges or university and get a degree. And companies still require it for some reason, I guess some level of experience or education they want, and it's just not necessary for a lot of jobs that young people are getting, and it's really unfair to them. They say, well, I need experience. Well, I can't get experience without getting a job first to give me that experience. And some of these companies it baffles me, because they want someone with 20 years experience and to have all this insight knowledge, but they want them young, like 20, 25, 30 years old. It's just not possible.
But it's true. 2/3 of all jobs in America require at least some college. This is the standard now. And that wasn't the case when most members of this committee were in school. And you paid far less for your degrees. That's not speculation. We looked up where the 60 members of this committee went to college and what your school's tuition was at that time. Even adjusting for inflation, college cost way less across the board.
Total student debt has tripled in less than 15 years. Americans now owe more in student loans than in auto loans or in credit card debt.
I actually came from corporate Calgary, oil and gas, and I can tell you that it is very, very similar to the tech industry and what tech workers go through in, say, Silicon Valley, in that you have this cycle of, okay, there was a recession, companies are doing a round of layoffs, all of a sudden there's a boom cycle, companies start hiring everybody back, you're, lured in with these high salaries, promises of great, benefits. And 5-6 years later, it starts all over again, and companies start doing a round of layoffs after everybody's promoted and promised, oh, we're family, hey, pull for the company and everything. But the first chance to cut expenses, companies are going to slash their labor force because they don't see the long-term consequences of that. They're only looking at the short term and, well, what is expendable? And unfortunately, it's usually their labor force. So I've noticed this happening in both Canada and the US, that the middle class is being financially squeezed, that every year more is being shaved off their net income and is being reallocated towards the top 1 or 2% of the upper class. Because let me ask you, all this money, now we have billionaires, and maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, they're talking about having the first trillionaire. Well, all that money that the upper class is obtaining, that they're getting it from somewhere. Where are they getting it? And it's not from printed money. It's coming right from here, of the middle class slowly being shaved and their net income being reallocated and distributed back to the upper class. The rich get richer. Well, this is true. So all those popular videos you see all over the internet, even YouTube, talking about, oh, well, this is the reason why you're broke. You're not budgeting. You have to cut back on your expenses. You're spending and eating out in restaurants too much. Well, that's true, yes. However, it's not the whole picture. The middle and working class is dealing with a smaller piece of the pie than they used to have. They used to have a pie that was this big. Now their pie has shrunk and they have this much to allocate and deal with. So in that remaining piece of the pie that you have to allocate every month towards your expenses, sure, there's probably some money management skills you can employ and better handle your money. However, your pie is smaller than it used to be 20, 30 years ago. So it's not really a fair comparison. Companies have to stop underemploying people and pay them what they're worth, and stop with these mass layoffs because it helps reduce their expenses in the short term just to hire people back 6 to 8 months. It's killing corporate loyalty. Corporate loyalty, employee loyalty in corporations is pretty much dead, and it's pretty much the fault of all these corporations. When they do mass layoffs, yet they're recording record profits, and they turn around and do mass layoffs or have to let people go or downsize, and yet their CEOs are recording record bonuses and salaries. It makes no sense. So no wonder nobody wants to work and put in all this effort, because the motivation is no longer there, especially with young people. And I don't blame them. Companies have to realize that employees are pretty much one of the most valuable assets that any company has. This is often preached and very seldomly practiced. I wish I had an easy answer and say, well, this is the solution for most people. I honestly would hate to be in any young person's position right now, because it is far more difficult than it was 20 or 30 years ago just to buy a house, get a car, be able to get by on an average paying job. However, I do feel that there are 2 things a person can do. The first is you absolutely must diversify your income. Get a second job or get some sort of passive income or side business going. That's part of the reason why I started this YouTube channel, because I figured years ago, well, I'm really good at finance. I know a lot about investing. I could pass this knowledge on to other people and I'd be earning passive income on the side. This would be like a secondary supplemental income. This is great. The second thing people can do is learn to invest. You hear me talk about, oh, inflation is causing house prices, gas prices, cars, everything to go up. Wages are remaining stagnant. Well, one thing inflation is not outpacing is investing returns. Investing returns, say such as the Dow Jones, is outpacing inflation. When someone invests, I don't care if it's in index funds, ETFs, stocks, maybe even bonds to a certain extent, the average return that you can expect to see over a year is anywhere from 2 upwards to maybe even 10%. Now that's including inflation. What's called the real return, adjusting for inflation, would be close to 5 or 6%. But there is no way that your wage, or at least it shouldn't, match that 5 or 6%. that 5 or 6% return on your investment will outpace your wage. So you want to be part of this investing group, this elite group that continues to see their wealth grow exponentially over the years. Otherwise, you're just being left behind. If you're just waiting and relying on your single income job that's going to, pay 50, and then in a few years 55,000, and then 5-10 years down the road 60,000, you're being left behind. You're being left in the dust, unfortunately. Many people don't know this, but there's a slow, gradual push, a quiet push towards people now renting and being accustomed to it. That, well, buying isn't the way to go. People should rent. And they'll rent everything, own nothing, and they'll be happy. I am not a proponent of this. Many people, when they dream of getting a house, they want to pass that legacy and their home ownership, their house that they worked so hard to pay for and grow and lived in, on to their children. They don't think of one day, okay, I have an apartment building that I rent, and when I die, I pass my lease on to my kids. Oh, enjoy the lease, kids. What a great lease you'll have, and all the best. And I own nothing, and I was so happy. Let me tell you this, someone somewhere will own that thing that you're renting, and they'll be getting rich off it. However, have you ever streamed or had to pay for something, well, that you once owned? Me, myself, I own books. I love books, I love reading. And many people opt for Kindle. Okay, nothing wrong with that. However, I've noticed with Kindle, there are certain stipulations and regulations buried in the fine print that you might not be aware of. You can't loan it to a friend. If the platform ever goes down or you're blocked out of your account, you can't access it anymore. So it kind of begs the question, when you bought a Kindle book, did you really buy it? These books here, I can loan them out to whoever I want. I pretty much have them forever, as long as I keep them in good condition. I own them. So I really hope you got something out of this video. Here are 2 great videos on the rising cost of food and grocery prices in Canada and what I think are the actual causes behind it from an accountant's perspective.